So we're at the Art Vietnam Gallery on Yên Lạc Street, a place that embodies your passion for art and has become your home. This remarkable space was designed by the talented artist Phạm Quang Vinh. Can you tell us the story of how you first met him and how has he helped you building this space?
On that first day, I had lunch at Vin's house, and then he took me to Hatri Hugh's studio. And at that time, it was just before Tet, January of '94. He took me to the Kim Lien Pagoda. It was my first experience in a Vietnamese pagoda, of course, and the wood and the scent of the incense. And Vin knew the monk there, so we sat and had tea, and it was such a beautiful memory for me. And I remember saying to Vin, as we were leaving, you know, you can just leave me here. I'd like to live here. So then when, you know, I bought that Jeep and we drove to Dien Bien Phu and Sung La and came through Mai Cho. We actually spent the weekend in this very house, this white Thai house. When he was in art school, Vin had elected to go to Mai Cho. Even at that time, he was working for Kim Dong. And they were doing some work with this man by the name of Lao Ko Nhum. He goes by Mai. So he was the owner of this house. He was a poet, and he worked with the Hoa Binh Writers Association. Vin knew this man, so he said, oh, let's go. I want to go see Mai. I haven't seen Mai since he lived there as a student. You know, it had been 15 years later. We all spent the night in this very house, and then Vin came to me a few weeks later and said, oh, you know, I bought Mai's house and I'm going to bring it to Hanoi. And I thought, oh, what a fantastic idea. So then later when we met, I said to Vin, hey, Vin, you know, instead of Mai paying rent to somebody I don't know, why don't I pay rent to you? And we can make like a gallery on the ground floor where we can show your work and other artists' work. We can make a studio space on the second floor for artists to work. The house on stilts will be on the third floor. He said, yeah, oh yes, let's do that. I mean, it was good for everybody. So he would come to my house every day on Hang Chom Street, where I live, and we would sketch. He loves architecture, as I do. The architecture and the concept of the way this house is designed is totally Vin's. He had to follow the, you know, the physics of the house to structure. The idea for the ground floor, the doors are exactly like the entrance to a pagoda. The ceiling with the wood and the way it's designed is like the pagoda. I mean, a lot of it has to do with Vietnamese culture and aesthetics. There's a lot of elements of my life in Japan. The water pool and the bamboo screens on the inside.
I'm very impressed by the breadth of your Phạm Quang Vinh collection. What is it about his artistic vision that you find so compelling?
I got to know him so well as we're building this house. And in a sense, this is kind of our artwork that we did together, which brings me a lot of joy because he made me a part of his family, you know, his wife and his son and his parents and his sister. Why I have so much of his work is, of course, a way to help him. But the main reason is he's really unique, especially like the works were done in '98. The lacquer pieces that are called Inside My Head 1 and 2, they really are quintessential Vin. He has a very small body but a big head. You know, it's just all jumbled. Just at the time when he was making the decision whether he was going to stop working as an artist and be the director of Kim Dong. So it kind of epitomizes his struggle. The one that I call Inside My Head 2 has the same structure of his head. The interior of the head is much calmer, not so fragmented. The eyes are looking straight forward. It's like, okay, I've made my decision and I'm going to make it the right decision. So there's a lot of confidence, and it's like looking with purpose. It's his a resolution of feelings that he has, an expression of his life and what he's going through. But it's everybody's life also. You know, it's kind of like humanity. I suppose I know him the best because we worked together for so long, you know, building this house. He was really my window to Vietnamese culture.
So let's talk about one of his artworks. It's the artist with model. There's a cubist feel to his work. His approach to depicting the human figure involves fragmentation and recomposition, creating a sense of three-dimensionality as the various shapes merge and interact.
He made that work in 1993. It was a prescient or like a predictive work. In a lot of Vin's work, he has elements of like Picasso-esque figuration. Here he's got the easel. He himself is in the painting, and he's outside of the painting. It's like being present and not present, and the yin and the yang. And then he's got this woman that's upside down, and then he has a phoenix, and he has a flute. This woman, like me, would come into his life, and we'd start to build this tree of life house. It's a really mysterious painting for me.
I want you to take a look into your book.
Oh, Self-Portraits of Vin.
Yes, so both created in the same year, 1995. The one on page 65, the watch medium allows for a softer, more expressive quality, the slightly enlarged features, particularly the eyes and the bridge of the nose, as well as the dark circles under the eyes. There's a fragility to the figure, a sense of vulnerability. But in contrast, the one in page 84, the lacquer self-portrait, it presents a slightly different tone. Here we see a man who appears very wary and contemplative. His gaze directed into the distance. The lines are less delicate, it's more angular and robust, reflecting perhaps a sense of resilience or even a kind of roughness. The lacquer medium itself lends a certain strength and permanence to the image. It's fascinating to see how the artist uses these distinct mediums to convey such different facets of the self. He usually uses multiple mediums for the same compositions of a painting. For example, lacquer and watch. So for you, what stands out in each of these mediums?
Those two portraits are so different from the other, right? So let me go to the first one, the one in gouache. He's a complicated person. There's a very soft, gentle side to his character. So I always call this one Gentle Vin. In my mind, as I said, he has a big head. It's kind of exaggerated, that big forehead and his nose and his eyes. He has beautiful big eyes. So those are very dominant. He works so hard, like 3 and 4 jobs. I don't know, you'd go to the studio like at 1 in the morning and paint all night, and then he'd show up at work. That particular portrait depicts that really soft, lovely side of him. And then contrasted with the other, the one in lacquer, multi-layered and hard surface. He's like steely, determined, confident, like I can do this kind of attitude. Oftentimes he's very introspective. He looks at himself so carefully, like his own eye looking inside at himself. It's a little hard to tell, but the painting that's in the frame that's in back of him is also a portrait of himself. But it's a little vague. It's not so discernible, the detail, but you can see the big eye.
Yeah, I can.
It's such a depiction of a man who is really comfortable with expressing, you know, all sides of himself. You know, it's very hard to express verbally and perhaps even physically all of our feelings. By doing this kind of technique and portrait within a portrait and outside eyes looking in, That's the way he's able to express multi-layered emotions and multi-layered person that he is.
I noticed beside from Phạm Quang Vinh, you also have multiple self-portraits of Ha Chi Hiếu. What's the difference between these self-portraits?
They've always been really good friends, and they often paint each other, or Hugh will make portraits or paint Vin, which is very sweet. Hugh is one of the most interesting self-portrait artists. They're so varied, the way he sees himself. This one from 1995, where he has the tie on and he looks like it's a bird, maybe. The form is so blocky and the nose is elongated. If you look at the one on Zepp paper, you know, he makes his head very big and a big mouth. And like with Vin, I feel that his portraits portray the different facets of his character, whereas for me, Hugh's self-portraits don't so much portray different facets of his character. So he's playing more with the structure and the medium, whereas Vin is portraying more what's internal. They're each really distinctive and very interesting as self-portraits.